Hey everyone! Episode 17 of the Holland-a-thon, and today I will be watching The Devil All the Time. Now, this is a movie that I wanted to watch as soon as possible when it came out, and I think I watched it the day that it came out on Netflix, or maybe a couple of days later, and I remember I enjoyed it. Well, maybe not enjoy, because it's not that much of a cheery film, but I thought it was good. But now I'm thinking back on it, I can barely remember anything that happened in it. I remember that Tom Holland plays the protagonist and that I really liked him in it because up until that point I'd only really seen the Spider-Man movies, The Impossible and Onward, and he always kind of plays the same character. Obviously he always plays Spider-Man, but then Onward he was also kind of a geeky, shy boy. And The Impossible, we're not counting that because he's so much younger in that film. And in this film, he really was an entirely different character. It was the first film that I was like, wow, this guy has range. I'm curious to see if I'll still think that after having watched more of Tom Holland's filmography. Apart from that though, I don't really remember anything. I know Tom Holland has kind of a greasy look. And I really like that aesthetic on him, especially with the longer curly hair. I remember Robert Pattinson in this movie. He played like a bad guy, right? I remember a lot of people dying, a lot of drama, family issues. I think Tom Holland broke his nose during the filming of this movie. Yeah, apart from that, I don't remember much. So needless to say, I'm very looking forward to revisiting this one. Can't wait to remember what I forgot since first watching this movie, and I hope I'm still going to like it as much as I did the first time. So without further ado, I'm going to watch the film and I will let you know my thoughts once I've seen it. I'm back. The Devil All the Time is the story of, well, a bunch of people, but it all revolves around this one person called Arvin Russell, played by Tom Holland. The movie follows many different storylines happening at different times, in different places, and regarding different people, but they all intersect at times and even intertwine. And it always comes back to Arvin. For example, there's the story about his father, the story about the woman who almost became his father's wife, who later gives birth to the girl that becomes his stepsister. There's a story about this photography/serial killer couple that also has ties to Arvin, but also has ties to the policeman that Arvin runs into. There's a story about a priest that runs the local church that he goes to, etc. Many different storylines that all happen at the same time and intertwine, and I like that. I thought that was pretty neat. What also connects these stories, except for the fact that they sometimes have crossovers, is the fact that they all have something to do with religion, and more specifically, there's always a character that misuses religion, abuses religion, or is misguided by religion, so that they do horrible things. I don't want to give too much away, but for example, there's this priest, I think he's a priest, maybe a preacher or something, and he kills his wife because he thinks God has given him the power to resurrect her. Just like that, everyone does these awful things, and they justify it with religion. And I thought that was a really interesting motif, one that I haven't seen before. I've never been in this part of the USA. I don't know if there really are these kinds of people. I hope not, but I'm thinking there probably are. The cast was very surprising. Almost every character I recognized from somewhere. The entire time I was just like, hey, that's Bucky, hey, that's Robert Pattinson, hey, that's Pennywise. And they all surprised me. They all acted very, very well. And of course, the reason we're here is Tom Holland. He plays Arvin Russell, and he is, in my opinion, the most interesting character. Not because he does so much interesting stuff. In fact, most of the time he's pretty reactionary. He reacts a lot. He doesn't do very much until the very end of the movie. It's the fact that these things happen to him that makes him such an interesting character, I think. Tom Holland speaks with I guess, Ohio accent. I looked it up and it's supposed to be a southern accent, but Ohio isn't very southern, is it? So, I don't know. I don't know enough about America to say this with 100% certainty. But I think his accent was okay. It didn't really take me out of the movie or anything, and I couldn't hear any English sounds in that, so good job. I don't think it's mentioned how old Arvin is supposed to be in this movie. He did have a birthday, but it wasn't mentioned which birthday it was. But I did a little digging, and according to his Wikipedia page on the Villains Wiki, yes, I went very deep with this one, Arvin is born in 1948, and that scene with his birthday happens in 1965, which makes it his 17th birthday. So, he played a 17-year-old in our craft that looks like this, and yeah, might this be the movie that finally gets us off that 16-year-old plateau? Who knows? So all in all, I was very impressed by this film. I liked it very much, even though it's so dark. I was impressed with the talent of the actors, and I also really liked the way it was told, like all these different storylines that interconnect. My one complaint might be that it dragged a little bit, but I also thought that added a bit to that slow burn feel of it all. So all in all, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. Next episode, I'm going to watch Chaos Walking, so do join me for that, and I'll see you then. Goodbye.